The unexpected question that changed everything. The conference hall fell silent. Among the hundreds of delegates from across Africa, a single question hung in the air, one that would challenge misconceptions and open minds to a deeper understanding of Islam. What does Islam truly teach about leadership, justice, and social responsibility? This wasn't just any gathering. Religious scholars, political leaders, and intellectuals had come together to discuss the role of faith in modern governance. The question came from a young leader who had witnessed firsthand how misconceptions about Islam had shaped political discourse across his continent. Beyond the headlines, understanding Islam's core message, Dr. Ahmad Hassan, a renowned Islamic scholar, stood to address the assembly. His words would echo the teachings that scholars like Dr. ZAKIR NAIK have spent decades explaining to global audiences. When we speak of Islam, Dr. Hassan began, we must first understand that the word itself comes from salam, peace. This is not merely a greeting, but the foundation of Islamic civilization. He explained how Islam's approach to governance and social justice had been misunderstood in contemporary discourse. The Quran states in chapter 5, verse 32, "Whoever kills an innocent soul, it is as if he has killed all of mankind. And whoever saves a life, it is as if he has saved all of mankind." This is the lens through which Islamic leadership must be viewed. The 5 pillars, more than ritual, the scholar continued, addressing the common misconceptions about Islamic practices. Many people see the 5 pillars as mere rituals, but they represent a complete framework for social transformation. He elaborated on how each pillar contributes to societal well-being. Salah, prayer, isn't just individual worship. It creates discipline and unity. When Muslims pray together, regardless of their social status, they stand shoulder to shoulder. The CEO prays next to the janitor. This is practical equality. Zakat, obligatory charity, is perhaps the world's first systematic approach to wealth redistribution. It's not voluntary philanthropy. It's a legal obligation. Every Muslim must give 2.5% of their wealth annually to those in need. Imagine if this principle were applied globally. The audience was captivated. These weren't abstract theological concepts, but practical solutions to modern problems. Islam's approach to knowledge and science, Dr. Hassan then addressed another common misconception. The Quran's first revealed word was Iqra, read. Islam doesn't fear knowledge. It commands it. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave, and seek knowledge even if you have to go to China." He reminded the audience of Islam's golden age. When Europe was in its dark ages, Muslim scholars preserved Greek philosophy, advanced mathematics, developed modern medicine, and established the world's first universities. The scientific method itself has roots in Islamic scholarship. Al-Khwarizmi gave us algebra. Ibn Sina's medical texts were used in European universities for centuries. Al-Kindi, Al-Razi, Ibn Rushd, these weren't just religious scholars but pioneers of rational thought. Justice and leadership in Islamic perspective. The young leader who had asked the initial question leaned forward as Dr. Hassan addressed governance. The Quran establishes principles that modern democracies still struggle to implement fully. And it is by the mercy of Allah that you dealt gently with them.
Had you been severe and harsh-hearted, they would have broken away from you. True Islamic leadership is characterized by consultation, shura, justice, adl, and accountability.
The second caliph, Umar ibn al-Khattab, famously said, "If a dog dies hungry on the banks of the Euphrates, I fear Allah will question me about it." This is the level of responsibility Islam places on leaders. Islamic governance isn't theocracy as commonly misunderstood. It's a system where moral principles guide political decisions, where leaders are servants of the people, not rulers over them. Women's rights, the historical reality. Dr. Hassan then tackled one of the most contentious topics. 14 centuries ago, Islam granted women rights that Western societies only achieved in the 20th century. The right to own property, to divorce, to inheritance, to education, to participate in business and politics. The Prophet's wife Khadijah was a successful businesswoman who employed him. Another wife, Aisha, was a scholar whose teachings form part of Islamic jurisprudence. When people quote verses out of context to justify oppression, they're contradicting Islam's fundamental principles. The Quran says, Paradise lies at the feet of your mother, not father, but mother. It elevates women as the first teachers of humanity. Islam and interfaith harmony. As the discussion continued, Dr. Hassan addressed religious pluralism. The Quran explicitly states, "There is no compulsion in religion." It recognizes Christians and Jews as people of the book, and commands Muslims to protect their places of worship. Throughout history, Islamic civilizations were remarkably diverse. Medieval Cordoba had Muslim, Christian, and Jewish scholars working together. The Ottoman Empire's millet system allowed religious minorities to govern themselves according to their own laws. Islam doesn't seek to eliminate other faiths, but to coexist respectfully with them. The goal isn't uniformity, but unity in diversity. The modern challenge, Dr. Hassan's voice grew more serious as he addressed contemporary issues. Today, Islam faces the same challenge every religion faces in modernity: how to maintain authentic principles while addressing new realities. Extremism isn't unique to Islam. Every faith has had to confront radical interpretations. The vast majority of Muslims condemn terrorism and violence. These acts violate everything Islam teaches. When someone commits violence in Islam's name, they're as much a Muslim as someone who burns churches is a Christian. True Islamic scholarship requires deep study, not superficial interpretation. The Quran must be understood in its entirety, not through isolated verses. Context matters, historical understanding matters, scholarly consensus matters. A new understanding. As Dr. Hassan concluded, the young leader reflected on how his perspective had shifted. "I came here thinking I understood Islam through news headlines and political rhetoric. I leave understanding that Islam, like all great faiths, is far more nuanced, profound, and relevant to modern challenges than I realized." The audience erupted in applause, not just for the scholar's words, but for the realization that understanding between faiths and cultures is possible when we move beyond stereotypes to engage with authentic teachings. In that moment, many in the room understood that Islam's message, often distorted by both its extremist fringe and its critics, contains wisdom relevant to humanity's greatest challenges: social justice, scientific inquiry, responsible governance, human dignity, and peaceful coexistence. This is what happens when we listen with open minds rather than closed hearts. We discover that different paths often lead toward the same human aspirations for peace, justice, and meaning. Understanding Islam doesn't require conversion. It requires only the willingness to see beyond misconceptions to the faith's true essence and its contributions to human civilization.